Alright, we're back at the garage. We're going to take on a new project. We're going to convert a 96 Jeep Cherokee XJ from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive. We're going to show you everything you need to do. Their donor vehicle was a rolled XJ of the same year. And as far as what years you can mesh and blend back and forth, I'm not really sure, but I just stuck with the same year to keep it simple. And we're going to show you the whole process. And I don't know if I'm going to do it the right way or the wrong way, but end result, it's going to work. We're going to make it work. So stay tuned and follow along. Hopefully we'll all learn something on this one. Okay, here we are, the two-wheel drive. I've already got all the four-wheel drive stuff out of the donor. It was a rolled donor that I picked up. And anyways, pitman arm removal. I'm going to go ahead and start there after, I've already got the wheels off, as you can see. But I see a lot of people, they struggle with these tapered compression fittings like ball joint ends and rod ends and pitman arms. I see them break pitman arm pullers and stuff, on the internet, on Facebook, on the XJ page and whatever, all those pages. Get that nut off. You really don't need a puller for these most of the time. If you do put a puller on it and you have a bunch of tension and it's not going to release, smack that thing real hard right here. And if you got tension, it'll knock it right out. A lot of times you don't even need a puller. A little bit of downward tension here. Hit it with a BFR. This is just an FR, not a BFR. But anyways, there's one. And we're going to do the same thing on this connection down here. A tie rod on both sides. We're going to do the same method. The same method also works for the pitman arm to remove the whole pitman arm. Put your pitman arm puller on there, get a good amount of tension on it, and then hit it. It'll pop that thing loose. If you're just trying to pull it with the pitman arm only, pitman arm puller, chances are you're going to break that tool. You have to shock it. You have to shock it with one of these right here. Maybe even a little bigger than this one. Come on, she's going. Already slipped out. There we go. Okay, when that panhard bar released, it smashed my finger. So this ought to be interesting. I really didn't think it hurt that bad, but then I saw blood coming out of it. I don't know what it's going to be like. Ooh, that doesn't look so good. Yeah, looks like it put a hole in it. Okay, what happened there was the Zerk fitting. Let me get it to focus. The Zerk fitting on that rod end punctured me and did a nice number. Anyways, I'm going to tape it up and we'll keep going. Okay, that should get us going again. I should be okay with that. I'm just going to put that in my glove if it'll fit and continue on. Okay, the shocks are undone, removed. The steering drag link and tie rod is off. The panhard bar is off now. It was under quite a bit of tension. It was binding back over here, and that's why it came down, and the Zerk fitting slammed the top of my thumb there. Did a number on it. But anyways, what we're gonna do next is we're gonna take all the nuts off of these bolts that hold on the control arms, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna lower it down. We'll get it down close to the ground where it's safe. We'll put some jack stands under it just to support it. We'll drop those nuts, or I mean those bolts out of there. You know, just because I got a lift, you know, it makes things a little easier, but this isn't hard to do on the ground. You just use jack stands and floor jacks and a creeper, you know, and you take your time and you can do it all right on the ground. And believe me, just because I have a lift doesn't mean I'm a professional mechanic. This is all a hobby for me, and it's a passion, and I love it. I don't do it for a living. I just happen to kind of enjoy wrenching. I don't like to pay for anybody to do stuff for me, so I bit the bullet, bought the lift, and installed it, and it paid for itself. You know, so I just feel fortunate that way. Anyways, okay, like I said, we're gonna take these nuts off. We're gonna lower it down onto some jack stands, drive out these bolts, and let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically 4 bolts, and it'll be free if I leave the control arms hooked to the axle, which is probably what I'll do. I'll probably just do it that way. Anyways, I'm gonna get after it. I ended up busting out my sawhorses to support that axle. Make it a little higher off the ground, and jack stands, a little easier to get around. That's all loose. It's loose. It's done. Okay, do a quick wrap up here for the day. This is about as far as we're going to get today. Might as well do a little show and tell. Here is a new Cherokee that I picked up, new to me of course, and got a good deal on it. It was a 2-wheel drive, had a lot of issues, but we're gonna put the same rear end back in it, but this one's got a Detroit locker already installed. The front Dana 30's got a ARB in it, and we're gonna pop that in there. We have an AW4 and a 231J sitting right down there out of the donor. And if anybody's in Southwest Arizona that needs parts for a Cherokee, look me up, hit me up in the comment section. And or you can PM me, whatever you want. And this guy's out. That's about all we're gonna do today. We'll get back real soon here, and we'll get at it. Okay, we're gonna do an update on the progress of converting this 2-wheel drive Cherokee to 4-wheel drive. Basically everything's straightforward. I had to use the 4-wheel drive transmission. I'm not going to bore you with how to change the transmission out or a transfer case. It's, you unbolt it, you get it out, you get it back in, basically. Okay, I want to show you something about the wiring here. Here we have the wiring from the automatic transmission 2-wheel drive that came out of it. Now this plug will need to be extended, so it will go over here to the tail shaft and plug in to the speedo. And it's about a foot short. So I'm gonna have to cut this plug out, extend it so it reaches to the end of the transfer case now, because on the automatic transmission, the speedo sensor was quite a bit forward. So obviously that wiring is not going to work. Now the sensor wiring and everything, all the other wires are plugged right in to the harness up under the hood, no problem. And now, remember, we got to put in our shifter linkage, and you're going to need to get all that linkage out of your donor vehicle, whether it be out of the junkyard or what. Don't forget anything. Don't forget any of these linkages, the rods that go to the transfer case. And on the console, let's go over here. I'll dig out a couple of parts here and show you some of the stuff you're going to need to retain. Transfer case, shifter linkage. It got bent. I'm going to have to straighten that out. This piece goes on the side of the tunnel up in there, and it's got this guy here. He goes on here. You're going to need to grab the whole linkage and shifter system out of the four-wheel drive, and don't forget to take this part off the console of the four-wheel drive, so you'll have a nice blank out plate there, a nice so it'll look nice when you get it together. This one's broken right here, but I'm going to go ahead and use it anyways. I'll probably hit it with some super glue, but you're going to need those linkages. And as far as anything else pretty special, it's you're going to have to get a front drive shaft. It's got to come out of your donor. It's not hooked up yet, and you're going to have a rear drive shaft too. You're going to get out of the donor. This one has a slip yoke eliminator, so it's good. You have to have a CV drive shaft for this one, double cardan, and all stock. It'll be yoke to yoke. But if you're going to switch to a slip yoke eliminator, of course you're going to have a drive shaft made. Of course the exhaust came out. It's all back in now, and we got brand new transmission lines off of Amazon for this thing, because those old ones were leaking. They're not hooked up yet. I'm still waiting on the plastic parts that go on the side of the transmission that retain the tubing in there, hold the tubing in. So we're waiting on that. And what else did we do? We put a winch bumper on it, and that I had from the donor vehicle, and I put the lift parts that were on the donor vehicle on here. And of course you're going to need your front diff, and you want to double check your gear ratios, to make sure that they're going to match front or rear. And that's if you're just getting one differential for the front and not getting both out of a donor vehicle. But you got to make sure your ratio is right. We did all new bushings in here and here. We got some fresh stuff going in, and we got fresh bushings on the upper control arms also, and lower control arms got new bushings too. But anyways, that's this little progress report. We'll get back with some more stuff later. Okay, we got to put a longer drop pitman arm on, because this lift kit requires one that drops down much more. I've seen on the forums and stuff where people, they break these pitman arm pullers and stuff trying to get this thing off. I just taken the nut and the washer off. I just put the pitman arm on. It hasn't been removed at all or anything by me. It hasn't been removed by me at all. But here's what I do to get these things off of there. If it doesn't come off just with the pitman arm puller, once you feel like you've got a bunch of torque on there and it's not going, stop. What you want to do, okay, I'm going to put some torque on it now. It's just on there hand tight. lot of pressure right there. Take a good sized hammer and you want to get a good whack right on here. That shock wave usually breaks it loose and then everything just goes falling down after that. But I'm going to put something underneath it to catch it. Okay, here we go. It should take a good whack, a few whacks right here. This thing should come off of there. See, let me get lined up so I can hit it decent. Nothing yet. Let me get a more powerful, put a little more, let's see if I can get a little more turns on it with this. There it went. Wasn't too bad, didn't put up too much of a fight. But the hammer always seems to shock it real well and break it free. So give that a try if you're having a hell of a time with it. Okay. We got to remove this little panel right here. It's got, looks like 5/16 or /8mm, same thing. This panel has to come out because this is the spot where your shifter for your transfer case comes up, and so that's got to go. At least the two-wheel drives are set up to be made into a four-wheel drive fairly easily, and which is a plus for anybody looking to do it. This panel right here will bolt right into that spot that we just looked at underneath the console. Here's the lever for the shift lever for the transfer case. Okay, what's the best way to explain this? This piece goes underneath the Cherokee alongside the transmission, and it holds the linkage in place for the transfer case. It mounts about down in here, way down on the tunnel here, and rather than pull the seats and get the carpet kit out of the way and pull all the trim to get the carpet up, what we're going to do to bolt that thing in, because the bolts come all the way through, they come all the way through. Rather than cut this and cut a big opening that looks like crap, I'm going to try going underneath with like a punch, and I'm going to heat it up with the torch, and I'm going to poke it up from underneath so it pokes a hole clear through all this nylon carpeting and padding. So I should have 4 burnt holes right there where I could put this underneath, push the bolts through, and bolt them on. So that way we'll just have 4 dots, 4 bolt heads showing, instead of a big cut and a big nasty ugly looking thing. That way I don't have to pull the seats and pull everything just to try to make something really pretty, which something this old is kind of useless to me to try to get something pretty. I want function. Anyways, here I am up on the, precariously perched up on the lift, on top of a ladder, standing on about 8 foot in the air right now. Anyways, that's what I'm going to try to do. Okay, I hope this focuses okay. Anyways, there's one of the holes for that bracket I showed you. Here's 2, and 3 and 4. You can see the padding, the carpet right in there. And let me get this back a little ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this punch, and I'll hold it with a pair of vice grips so it doesn't burn my hand, and I'm going to push that right up through that carpet. Just like that, and it's going to melt. It's going to melt a nice hole. I'm going to do all 4 of them. So that way when I go to the inside, it's going to be 4 holes for me to drop the bolts through. And you'll just see bolt heads sticking up on the carpet, and that's it, instead of a big cutout. That's how we're going to try to make that work. So let's see how it goes. Okay, so here's what I used. It's like a spike. It's like a nail, one of those big like tent stake, kind of ground to a point on the vice grip. And of course, I use a torch, MAP gas, because I prefer MAP gas over propane because it gets a lot hotter. And I'll show you how it worked. Okay, looks like right there, nice hole. That was pretty easy right there. And of course that's where the bolts are going to drop through. And then we'll just, I'll have somebody underneath while I turn the top of the bolts, and because the bracket underneath has threads built into it. And should be a pretty easy install. Hell of a lot easier than pulling the seats and carpet and all that just to get a clean look. But there we go. Okay, here's the conclusion on the conversion for the 2-wheel drive to 4-wheel drive Cherokee. Basically everything was straightforward. It was pretty dang easy. This is my first one I've ever done. It came out good. I'm happy with it. The 2-wheel drive has all the holes supplied. You know, you don't have to drill anything, you don't have to modify anything. The 2-wheel drive Cherokee has all the accommodations for the 4-wheel drive stuff to bolt to. Linkages, axles, transfer case, you know, everything, you name it. There's a few parts you'll have to retain from the 4-wheel drive, but all in all, pretty easy deal. There's the new shifter poking through. Of course, you got to save that little plate. Here's the 4 bolts I mentioned earlier. That came out kind of clean. Didn't have to pull the seats or the floor mat to do that. As far as a four-wheel light on the dash, that's not hooked up. I don't need that. That's idiot stuff. But it's got a lift kit, it's got a little of this, little of that, it's got some rough country stuff, it's got some JKS stuff, slip yoke eliminator, winch bumper, ARB in the front axle. This one's going to be for sale too. I'm going to sell this one. I don't need 2 of these, but anyways, it was just a fun project for me, and it wheels very nice. It's all brand new bushings throughout, so it's nice and quiet ride. And it's right at 200,000 on the on the motor. Still runs like a top. The AC blows nice and cold. Full service transmission. All that filled with the Mopar 4 plus 4, whatever they call it. I forget what the hell. It's the expensive transmission fluid. But all in all, it's good. Came out nice. We'll get back with you on another video. Thanks for watching Missing Digit Garage. Hit subscribe, hit the like button. We got more coming. Thanks a lot.